Did you know that our communication is difficult, right? Communicating with our partners, non sexual communication, is not easy. But did you know that sexual communication is far more difficult? I think you did know that. But I want to show you why. And I want us to improve, as you know, our sexual communication and, of course, our non sexual. But we're focusing on sexual communication. So let's see how we can identify some of our problems in sexual communication, the barriers, and let's see whether we can find out how to improve it. I'm going to probably talk about another questionnaire tomorrow, not today. Today we're going to go over some general facts to find out what does it mean to have a barrier in sexual communication. When we have an issue with communication, there is a threat to ourself, there is a threat to our partner, and there is a threat to our relationship whenever we try to communicate. So we're scared. Uh-oh, what is it going to do to me? We're scared. Uh-oh, what is it going to do to my partner and to the relationship? That is why we have issues with communicating, which is why guys more than women, and we already know that, studies show that, and remember, if you want the studies for this, let me know, I'll send it to you. But the guys have a more difficult time communicating. And I'm not saying that women are good, because we have some women that are not, and we have some women that are, but far more women are better at communicating than men. I'm sure you know that too. So that threat to ourself and to our partner and to the relationship is why we have a problem with communicating. We're scared of checking out the issue because how it's going to affect me, my partner, or the relationship. And for some, it's much more than others. Remember, go back to the personality type that you have, the personality trait. That will explain this in more detail to the degree on how much this affects you. But in general, right now, we all have barriers to sexual communication. And the area that we have that barrier in is because of a fear of that communicating affecting us personally, affecting our partner, and the relationship as a whole. The self. When we're concerned about ourself, it's because it makes me feel worthless. Sometimes when you're communicating, some people feel worthless communicating. Isn't that sad? When you're trying to say something to someone, the person themselves feels that when they're exposing that issue, that it's bringing them down. That is so sad. But that is one of the reasons why we as individuals, not all of us, some of us, don't communicate. We feel worthless. And if you're feeling worthless, please, that has to be addressed. All of these issues need to be addressed. We do not want to use communication poorly. We want to use it in the best way we can, not only sexually, but non sexually also. And no communication should make you feel worthless. Makes you feel weak. That means you're not strong. You don't look like you're the lion in the relationship. And sometimes you don't have to. So looking strong and looking weak, I know that might be a gender role thing, but as individuals, I don't believe looking weak should be an issue. It should really be more in getting the information of what you're trying to communicate across to the person. Feeling not normal. Some people say they don't feel normal. Ashamed. Some people feel ashamed when they're communicating. And again, that is a deep-rooted problem, deep-rooted reason for that. There should be no reason why you are ashamed when you're trying to communicate. I don't care what it is. I believe conquering those fears, conquering that shame, conquering that life issue, which we're all going to have, it's going to come and go, right? They come, they go, another one comes and goes. So conquering that is what I think life's about. We're here to make ourselves better, get ourselves better in communicating, and have better relationships, lifelong relationships where we can be happy, everlasting, right? Everlasting, forever, right? So sometimes some people feel badly about themselves. They feel bad, right? They might not feel ashamed, but they feel bad that, oh my gosh, I feel inferior, right? We don't want that to be something that someone experiences. But sometimes the reason why someone does not communicate is they don't want to feel bad. And it's okay to feel bad, but it depends on the degree. If you're feeling too bad, get some therapy, get some help so that you're not feeling bad about communicating, because it's really not a matter of feeling bad. It's, again, more about getting your point of view across to your partner. Feel like a failure. Now, failure is a big one for me because I believe we all have to fail. Failing is where you learn. If you don't fail, you will never learn. So failing is a must. And I know some people were brought up that failing was a crime. You can't fail in your family. That is absolutely wrong. Please, I hope you're not teaching that to your children. You have to fail. It's getting up that matters. It's getting through that failure and walking yourself and learning from that failure that matters. We all should know that by now. Failing is not a problem. So when someone says to themselves that they feel like a failure when they're communicating, that needs to be addressed. Inadequate, feeling inadequate, not feeling like, again, you're a superwoman or something. I don't know. Feeling inadequate, these are feelings that you should not be feeling to a main degree. It might be a small degree, but if it's a small degree, you can handle it. You can handle the communication. But if it's to a big, major degree, you might have to get some help. Absolutely not acceptable to feel inadequate. Now, that is for self. Partner. Sometimes someone says or feels it will make their partner feel worthless. So communicating to their partner, their person, again, sounds like someone's agreeable, right? That personality is worried about the partner feeling worthless. I am telling you, that is probably such an agreeable personality, because there's some personalities that I know, that hopefully that you actually checked out, that will not make a big deal about the other person feeling worthless. Now, there should be some concern about your partner's feelings. Agree, that's why we want to do it gently. But making my partner feel worthless sounds to me like an extreme. So that sounds like a particular personality issue. But please don't worry again about the person feeling worthless. It's how you deliver it. You've got to be very gentle. Partner might also feel like a failure. Again, you're worried that your partner might feel like a failure. Vulnerable, you're worried that your partner might feel vulnerable. Okay, again, these feelings about your partner, I just think that's over the top. I really believe that your partner feeling vulnerable should not be the main worry. The main worry should really be about you and getting your information across, but how you deliver it. That's the more important point here. Some people will feel that their partner will feel guilty. Depends on what the topic is, right? If the partner is supposed to feel guilty, let the partner feel guilty. That should not be a reason or an excuse for you not to communicate. Again, agreeable comes to mind. Incompetent. So you're worried that the person might feel incompetent. I guess it's my personality kicking in right now, feeling that, okay, and ... Yeah, feeling incompetent, worried about your partner, embarrassed, worried about your partner. Okay, I get it, but it should not be to a major degree. Yes, you're worried about your partner. So again, delivery is what is the most important, concern that you should have, how you deliver it, and even where you deliver it. You got to find a place and a time, right? The timing to deliver or to communicate. It should not be just random. You should plan that out, how you're going to communicate, and make sure that your partner is actually happy, right? In a good spot, in a good place emotionally, before you try to communicate, especially if it's something very serious, okay? Or inadequate. You don't want your partner to feel inadequate at all. Again, that to me means being considerate in terms of where, when, and how you deliver that communicating issue or communication. Relationships. Okay, so when we are feeling threatened in the relationship, it makes the relationship sort of like you don't want the two of you to feel frustrated in the relationship, right? So that frustration, I know that, oh, I can't get my information across, I can't get my message across. That getting frustrated, I know that is a reason why people do not communicate in a relationship, especially if you don't know the person. If you don't know the person that well, you're probably going to say, forget it, I don't want to communicate. Please understand that feeling frustrated is basically normal, right? Hopefully not to a great degree. But don't run away from that fact that you're going to both feel frustrated. Hopefully you're mature enough to know, okay, yeah, there'll be some frustration, but you can get through it with maturity, okay? And with being open and being honest. In the relationship, someone can get angry. Now that's huge. I did a talk about anger. We've got to be able to not get angry. Men and women, please. Anger gets you nowhere, and you really can't think and you really can't make decisions when you're angry or when you're too emotional. So, anger is one of those things you do not want to face when you're trying to communicate. So, I'm going to encourage you, men and women, take away the anger. If you cannot, get help. Make us argue. Yeah, if you bring up something, you're going to probably argue. But again, how do you argue? You want to argue maturely, like two grown adults that can handle the situation. Now, of course, depending on their personality, you're going to find that they can't handle it and they're going to argue back and forth, nag, nag, nag. And it's like, no, you don't want that. So remember, try not to argue. You're going to be mature. You're going to count to 10. You may get up and say, excuse me, walk away, or get therapy again if you cannot manage your arguing. Bring up past issues. Yeah, when you start communicating in a relationship, bringing up the past is so easy. And I'm going to encourage you not to bring up the past. I know how tempting it is, but let's be, again, mature, let's be wise, and think of the future of the relationship. Because if you bring up the past, oh my gosh, some people go back 10 years, 20 years, 100 years. No, you can't. Even though, yes, some people say the past predicts the future. I don't believe that. I believe people can change. People can become better. People can become such good people that the past was what actually made them become such different and good people. So please understand that bringing up past issues to me is a no-no, unless utmostly important. But otherwise, leave it in the past and leave those issues, which should have been resolved actually, and if not resolved, go to therapy together, okay? Counseling. Another relationship issue is showing differences in the relationship. Yes, we can see the difference when we talk about an issue and we communicate and we can say, oh my gosh, this person is ... This person is this person is that. I didn't know that. It's by communicating you get to know what the person is like, but you need to know your differences so that you know, is this the relationship I want to be in? So please communicate, ask your questions. Know that you are supposed to know your differences, all right? You don't have to know every single small detail difference, but the general big ones you should know, okay? So show differences in our personal values. So the differences in your personal values is really important to know. You've got to know what makes you you and what makes the other person the other person. Reveal core differences between the two of you or the relationship. The core differences. Again, some people are scared to reveal that. You want to hide it. Don't hide your differences. Otherwise, you'll be miserable in the future because you're just going to keep on hiding it, walking on eggshells, and you're going to feel, oh my gosh, this is hell. Please don't hide your core value. Don't hide who you are. You have to, again, to a certain extent, show who you are by being who you are and loving who you are. Number one, loving who you are and finding a person that can accept and love you for who you are, right? That's what we want in the relationship. Okay, so that's something that we need to be aware of, but I also want you to be aware of 10 sexual barriers, all right? Actual issues that we have in the bedroom. So sexual barriers to communicating in the bedroom. Now, I'm actually going to deep dive into this in the future, but right now I want to go through the 10, again, through the studies, most common sexual barrier communication problems that we have found based on this study that I'm using right now. Number one, frequency of sex. We know that is an issue. So to talk about how often you're going to have sex is a major problem for some couples because they can't hit the right number, right? One says once a week, the other one says once a month. That is a big discrepancy. So you want to be able to get rid of that barrier in terms of that frequency of sex and come to an agreement that the two of you can be happy with, right? So you really have to have that conversation way before you get very, very serious. How many times a week? And if it's something that you can't do, talk about it, find out how you guys can compromise, okay? Number two, experimenting or lack of experimenting. I talked about this a few weeks ago. Experimentation, sexual experimentation in the bedroom is important. Again, I know it'll be easy for some personalities than others, right? But you've got to be open to it. And if you're not, just have the conversation that you're not, but beware, you are going to get some kickback. This experimentation, this bringing some other things into the bedroom will actually help the relationship in the long run. Okay. Number three, oral sex. Ooh, oral sex. That is something that I know a lot of you have your opinions on. And that is a big sexual barrier in communication. So when you talk about oral sex, you want to go right into the details of it because, again, some people like it, some people don't like. Some people don't like to do it, some people like to do it. So you've got to know from the get go how soon, pretty soon in the relationship, whether that's something that you're going to have an issue with. Because oral sex now is sex, it's part of sex. And again, if you have issues with it, reach out and get help. Get a sex therapist, get a psychologist, a psychiatrist to find out what the deep rooted reason is. And again, if both of you agree that it's not a problem, that's great. But it's when there's a discrepancy, when one wants it and the other one does not, that's when there is a big barrier and that needs to be resolved. But again, that should have been cleared up and known way in the beginning of the relationship, okay? I'm sure you all know that because times have changed, right? Partners told no. Okay, so that is another sexual barrier when the partner wants one particular thing to be done in the bedroom and the partner that they're with says no. Now, to say no, I think is so serious because that is a conversation you should have had again. Knowing what you want, your preferences should have been discussed before. And that is part of, again, of the sexual barrier. We're not communicating our preferences properly. So we've got to do better on that so that there's not that partner is told no, that they don't want to do A, B, or C. It's going to be something that you're going to get used to. You got to practice it, being open and being honest in what you want. If you want to write it down, write it down. All right. You want to type it up and send them a letter, text, whatever, do it. But it's important that both of you know the no's and the yeses in the bedroom so that it doesn't happen where you're telling your partner no all of a sudden in the bedroom. Number 5, lack of sexual interest. That is something that you should not be experiencing, right? There should be that sexual attraction. If there's a lack of interest, something happens. Someone's dropped the ball. You're not showing love. Get to know those 5 love languages. Get to know why that person's not interested in you and find out, have that open discussion, a great discussion. Again, if you can't do it by yourself or between the two of you, get some help. Number 6, another barrier is when and where to have sex. When, meaning the time of the day, right? The time of the week, the time of the month. When, right? Is it before, after you do an activity? Morning, afternoon, evening? That's something the two of you should easily come to agree on, right? Where to have sex, you can decide where you're going to have sex again. Communicating. You can do that in so many places, but that is something you discuss with your partner with consent. Number 7. Okay, number 7 is my favorite. You know me and sexual preferences. Number 7, paying attention to sexual preferences. Paying attention, knowing what your partner prefers. You've got to memorize it, get it down pat. You've got to know it exactly and study it and just analyze it in detail so that you know exactly what your partner loves and exactly what your partner wants to have done so that you become an expert, right? So you have to pay attention. That's the only way that you're going to, pay attention, meaning you become good at it, right? You're going to pay attention to your sexual preferences, meaning you're going to both pay attention to both of your sexual preferences. You, as the individual, have to make sure it's clear by saying it verbally what you prefer. And your partner's going to say the same thing to you, what they prefer. And you get this. To me, this conversation should happen before you're in the bedroom. Write it down again. Make sure that both of you understand it and that you take it very serious, because the more you do that, the more successful your orgasm and your relationship will be in the long run. Okay? So you want to pay attention to your sexual preferences and your needs. The difference is that your preferences are what you prefer to have done. Needs are, oh my gosh, a must that has to be done. So some things you can say, okay, I can let that slide. But there's some needs that must be met, and that is a sexual need. I want you to have that conversation. And it's not only just getting that discussion going, but it's also reciprocating and accurately getting that message across and actually doing it appropriately and exactly how the person discussed it. So when you're reciprocating, you want to make sure that you are actually doing it both ways. They're doing a good job for you and you're doing a good job for them. Crucial. If you're not able to satisfy your partner, one person is losing out. That will affect the relationship in the long term. And let me just add this. I have it here in red. It's a little bit small, but your sexual act, your sexual timing for the orgasm is what you should be discussing. The acts. What activity do you like in the bedroom? And the orgasm. Now that's a little bit more unheard of or more unusual, but timing that orgasm, knowing when both of you want to have that orgasm. Is it one goes first, which is again for those that have issues with orgasming, right? Or should it be something you want to do later on, or just delay on, or he goes first? And it can change from different topic, time to time. It can change. It doesn't have to be the same all the time, that routine. Vary it up, right? So you actually want to have that timing discussed. Maybe discuss it before you go in for that sexual relationship at that point, or you have that discussion before. But on average, it should be something that you should have a great discussion with. And again, it's newish, but for those that are doing it, they're having a blast. They're having the ball of their life. So you have to have that ability to know, am I going to have the orgasm first, or are you going to have the orgasm first? So that both of you can plan it out and you can say, this is what I need for it to happen. And the partner is clear about exactly, right? Reciprocating, giving it to you the way you want it. And guys, listen up. You've got to do it the way the girl wants it. And gals, listen up. You've got to do it the way he wants it, step by step. Okay? Number 8, sexual irritation. Yeah, we do, women more than men, get irritated sexually. So again, there are ways to avoid that. My advice is always to get checked by a healthcare provider. Make sure you don't have anything going on sexually, like an STD or any non-STD problem that's going on in the genital area. Make sure you get checked, both men and women. Get your STD blood work and your cultures done. Show it to your partner. Make sure everyone knows everyone's on the same page and is okay. But sexual irritation can come from a few things, So if that happens, just be gentle in the communication. Just make sure it's not frequent. Make sure you take care of it. But it's not something that always comes up all the time, so that your partner does not get frustrated. Number 9, medications and health stopping sex. Now that is a big one. So people sometimes get sick, have medical issues that they cannot have sex, and hopefully it's for a short time. That can be a barrier in communication. So, but open up. There are other things you can do, like toys and using other things that can actually help you both get pleased sexually for the short time, right? And medications, be careful with medications because they can impact your sexual satisfaction and your orgasm. So always make sure you check into that and have the discussion with your healthcare provider as to when it's safe to get back to sexual activity, etc. And hopefully both of you can have that conversation where it's not too painful or it's not too prolonged, so it doesn't affect the relationship negatively. And the last one I have here is lack of romance. So lack of romance, lack of being romantic. To me, being romantic is, again, very important. You really need to be romantic. I always say, go find out the 5 languages of love for your partner. That's a simple way of finding out what your partner would like in terms of romance, because romance varies from person to person. And I truly believe that if you are going to show your partner something romantic, it should be what your partner likes, not what you like. So you got to find out what your partner likes in terms of romance and how to show romance to her so that she will love you more and more each day. Okay, guys, nice talking to you. I will talk to you tomorrow. So remember, some questionnaire tomorrow about the actual questions that we're going to deep dive into regarding barriers in sexual communication. All right, see you later. Bye.